In this video, we see about angle of anterior chamber. So anterior chamber is an angular space formed anteriorly by the posterior surface of the cornea, posteriorly by the lens in the pupillary aperture and anterior surface of iris and part of ciliary body. So it is 3 mm in deep and 0.25 ml aqueous lies in the anterior chamber. What is angle of anterior chamber? Angle between the posterior surface of the cornea and anterior surface of the iris. It is main drainage pathway for the aqueous humor of the eye. So contents are from outer side to inner side are Schwalbe's line, trabecular meshwork, scleral spur, ciliary body band. So development. By the 7th week, angle is occupied by the mesenchymal cells that are developed from neural crest cells. These mesenchymal cells will form the trabecular meshwork. In the posterior aspect, advanced bilayer optic curve, iris is advancing from bilayer optic curve. So this corneal endothelium and iris will meet at 15 weeks to demarcate the angle, and angle deepening occur even after birth. Angle structures are from outside to inside. This is Schwalbe's line, white is translucent Schwalbe's line, below that is trabecular meshwork, below that is scleral spur, and next is ciliary body band. So when we represent the angle, this is right eye, this is left eye, we have to mention all the 4 quadrants: superior, inferior, medial and lateral. This is SS means scleral spur, TM trabecular meshwork, CB ciliary body, so gonioscopy appearance of the angle structure. So anteriormost is Schwalbe's line, below that is trabecular meshwork, below that is scleral spur, below that is ciliary body band. Schwalbe's line is anterior border of the angle. It represents the termination of Descemet's membrane. On gonioscopy, it appears as whitish translucent structure. Importance is in case of pigmentary glaucoma and pseudoexfoliation syndrome, pigments will deposits along the Schwalbe's line. They are called Sampolisi line. So posterior embryotoxin is prominence of Schwalbe's line in Axenfeld-Rieger anomaly. So this is Sampolisi line, Schwalbe's line pigmentation in pigmentary glaucoma, and prominence of Schwalbe's line is called posterior embryotoxin. Next is trabecular meshwork. Trabecular meshwork is a sieve-like structure made of connective tissue lined by trabeculocytes. It has contractile and phagocytic property. Location is anterior to scleral spur, and there will be no pigments along the trabecular meshwork at birth, but pigments develops with increasing age. It is roughly triangular in section with its base at ciliary body and scleral spur and apex at the Schwalbe's line. There are 3 main parts of the trabecular meshwork are there. Inner one is evioscleral, middle is conioscleral, outer is juxtacanalicular. Juxtacanalicular lies adjacent to the Schlemm's canal. So evioscleral is the internal part. It is thick band of connective tissue with large pores. Originate from iris root to extends up to the Schwalbe's line. Conioscleral is middle most extensive part, contain elliptical pores which are gradually reduced in size as they approach Schlemm's canal. Juxtacanalicular is single layer of amorphous tissue, offers maximum resistance to the aqueous outflow. If there is developmental abnormality of this trabecular meshwork, it will cause congenital glaucoma in the pediatric newborns. So on gonioscopy, Schwalbe's line, trabecular meshwork, below that is scleral spur and ciliary body band. Scleral spur is location posterior to the trabecular meshwork. It is wedge-shaped circular ridge. It appears as prominent white line on gonioscopy. Contraction of ciliary muscle pulls the scleral spur posteriorly. So there will be prevention of Schlemm's canal prolapse. Importance is it is only constant landmark in ultrasound biomicroscopy. Next is ciliary body band. It is most posterior landmark in the angle recess. This is ciliary body band. Location is between its attachment to the scleral spur and insertion of the iris. It is dark brown band. Width depend on the level of iris insertion. It is wider in case of myopes, narrow in case of hyperopes. Importance. If there is history of trauma to the patient, there will be angle recession. It will cause glaucoma. Angle recession glaucoma. So in the angle recession glaucoma, there will be irregular widening of the ciliary body band due to disruption of trabecular meshwork and laceration of ciliary body. What is the importance of the angle? So to classify glaucoma, if angle is open, we call it as open angle. If angle is closed, we call it as closed angle. In the open angle, again we have to classify based on the cause. Primary open angle or secondary. Secondary open angle is due to pigmentary dispersion or pseudo exfoliation or uveitic. In the closed angle, if it is primary, primary angle closure glaucoma. If it is secondary, again we have to classify as prebiotic or uveitic. To assess extent of neovascularization, common retinal vascular diseases like CRVO will cause angle neovascularization and angle closure glaucoma. So to assess neovascularization, we have to examine angle, and to assess angle recession in case of traumatic history patients, and in case of any neoplastic activity, any history of inflammatory disorders, we have to examine the angle. Any degenerative or developmental abnormalities, and for planning the laser treatment, we have to examine the angle. So angle closure due to pupillary block, angle closure due to plateau iris configuration, both are different. If it is due to pupillary block, pupil is blocked by iris that touching the lens. So from the posterior surface, aqueous is accumulating, aqueous cause anterior bowing of the iris, and angle is blocked, it will cause glaucoma. Whereas plateau iris, there is anteriorly placed ciliary process is there, so that curvature of the iris is altered. Anteriorly placed ciliary process will cause plateau iris. Due to plateau iris, there will be angle closure. On gonioscopy, this curvature of angle, there will be dipping of iris at the lens equator will be seen. It is S shape. This picture is showing angle neovascularization. This is pigmentation along the Schwalbe's line called sample EC line. So on gonioscopy, we have to examine iris process and synechia. We have to differentiate between iris process and synechia. So iris processes are fine, they extend from iris ciliary body to scleral spur, and they move with indentation of the lens. Whereas synechia are broad, they extend beyond the scleral spur and they resist the movement. So indentation gonioscopy is done when the iris surface is convex and recognition of angle structure is very difficult. So to differentiate between appositional or synechial closure in pupillary block, we have to do the indentation gonioscopy. Suppose on initial picture, it looks as appositional closure in gonioscopy in this patient. Whereas when we do the indentation, there is anterior chamber widening and angle will be opened. On gonioscopy, there is peripheral anterior synechia location are located here. So due to the synechia, here angle is closed. So in case of chronic angle closure glaucoma, we have to look at the angle on gonioscopy, because everything like vision, field loss, cupping, everything will be similar to open angle glaucoma. Only on gonioscopy, looking at the angle, we get the diagnosis of chronic angle closure glaucoma. Here are some pictures showing, this is gonioscopy showing chronically closed angle. This is irregular widening of the ciliary body band in case of angle recession glaucoma. This is peripheral anterior synechia. This is closed angle with some bowing of the iris. So diagnostic modalities for the angle are, number one is gonioscopy. So how to examine a patient on indirect gonioscopy is, we have to instill topical anesthetic into the conjunctiva of the patient. Then on the concave side of the lens, we have to instill the viscoelastic material. Then we will ask the patient to look upward. Gently we will retract the lower eyelid down and we will place the lens on the anterior surface of the cornea. When we look at the angle structures, if the 4 structures are visible including ciliary body, it is grade 4. Up to scleral spur, if it is visible, it is grade 3. Up to trabecular meshwork, it is visible, grade 2. Only Schwalbe's line is visible, it is grade 1. Grade 1 is 10 degree, grade 4 is 35 to 45 degree. Grade 0, no structures are visible, complete closure of the angle, iris and cornea are in contact. Next we come to the direct gonioscopy. In this, patient lies in supine position in the operating room. Examination is done under topical anesthesia. It is performed using direct gonio lens and either binocular microscope or slit pen light. Lens is positioned after viscoelastic placed on the eye, which acts as coupling device, and lens provides direct visualization of the chamber angle in the erect position. Direct gonio lenses are Koepi, Swan-Jacob and Barkan lens. Here this is handheld binocular microscope with slit pen light and lens position on the cornea. Next is Von Herrick assessment of the anterior chamber depth. So in this is slit lamp based technique. Slit lamp is made very bright and thin and its offset is located temporally at 60 degree with the slit lamp ocularis. So temporal sclera is illuminated first and then slit lamp beam brought slightly towards the cornea until anterior chamber is visualized. So here thickness of the cornea can be compared with anterior chamber depth. Here again, this is corneal thickness, this is anterior chamber depth. So if the anterior chamber depth is more than corneal thickness, it is grade 4. If it is less than 1/4 of the corneal thickness, it is grade 1. If it is 1/4, it is grade 2. If it is 1/4 to half, grade 3. So grade 2, grade 1, we have to do the gonioscopy. Next is pen torch examination. In pen torch examination, we will throw pen torch on the temporal side of the cornea and we will examine whether the illumination is in the entire cornea or not. Suppose this is normal patient. We have showed the temporal light and entire cornea is illuminated here. So it is normal angle and anterior chamber is deep. If there is any bowing of the iris or anterior chamber is shallow, when we throw the light on the temporal side, there will be shadow occurring on the nasal side due to the bowing of this part of the iris. So this is shallow anterior chamber. Grade 4, if it is fully illuminated, it is grade 4. More than 2/3 illumination is grade 3. 1/3 to 2/3 illumination is grade 2. Less than 1/3 illumination is grade 1. Next is ultrasound biomicroscopy. It is close contact, non-invasive technique. Patient lies in supine position so that iris lens diaphragm will fall backward and deepens the anterior chamber and opens the angle. Only one quadrant can be imagined at a time, but risk of corneal abrasion and infection is there. So due to contact of the machine, there is risk of corneal abrasion and infection. This is ultrasound picture is showing in the normal light it is open angle, whereas in case of dim light is precipitates the angle closure, so angle is closed here. Optical coherence tomography, it is non-contact, non-invasive, light-based imaging modality. Image resolution is higher than ultrasound biomicroscopy. 4 segments can be scanned at a time and working principle is similar to ultrasound. So this is optical coherence tomography OCT of anterior segment showing cornea, corneal epithelium, stroma and endothelium. Here it is the Schwalbe's line. It is just continuation of Descemet's membrane of the cornea. Here location is Schlemm's canal. This is ciliary body, iris, and triangular section is trabecular meshwork. In this OCT, we are seeing angle recession post hyphema following trauma. So here angle is fully open, whereas here angle is closed. Here is angle closure is there. Thank you.